Hello and welcome to my channel. I am an extrovert with social anxiety and this is my first video. I am also a software engineer, a junior software engineer. Basically, I was in college, university. I had to take an elective course and I wasn't sure which one I wanted to take. It was towards the end of my degree and my wife actually suggested that I take advanced Python because, well, I love Python, why not? But yeah, so I ended up taking the advanced Python and my college was entirely online. We were in South Carolina at the time. I wasn't about to be driving to Vermont every day. That would have been something. But yeah, I was taking advanced Python and the class was going okay. It seemed like a lot of people were really struggling with it, mostly because I had found out that it wasn't the professors that actually wrote the courses for the school. Like, the courses had been around for a while and it was anyone's guess as to how long that while was. But yeah, it was a struggle to say the least. And I was really trying hard. You know, I had been busting my behind and the courses were accelerated. So I had that going for me because with my ADHD, it was just not great. And it was my first time like really away from home, even though I was greatly looking forward to that. We went for spring break and then COVID happened and we all of us went home. It really hit us, I think, at that point. And so we were not allowed to return home to our dorms. Yeah, so long story short, they had us starting to do classes online, but it was like during that awkward phase where nobody really knew what they were doing. It's not that online courses weren't a thing, it's everyone was struggling. So I ended up going back to the dorm. I was like, I think I need to try something else. I was going to the university to become a classics major because I love history and I love mythology. All of that just really drew me in and I was like, that is what I want to do. Absolutely. I don't want to do anything else with my life. That was a lie. So yeah, I started looking around for online courses and universities. I was like, okay, well, I don't know if I can really do the full term thing, but let me just see. I tried one university that didn't go great either, honestly, but then when I did find my college that I graduated from, all the courses were accelerated and I was like, this is amazing. What am I gonna do? My dad has always worked in tech and everything. Honestly, to this day, I don't know what my dad does. He could be a super spy for all I know. I have no idea. He was always like, oh yeah, you know, you should really get into graphic design. I didn't want to do graphic design. Nothing against graphic design. I did not want to do it. And so I was looking, I was like, oh, you know, they have like, I know I want to get my degree in computer science. So that was about all I had to go on. They had a web design and development degree and I was like, you know what, I think I can try that and I can probably just, you know, build websites or whatever. There was a time in my life when I wanted to build video games. Yeah, I wanted to do a lot of things. I still do. I was going through the motions and the accelerated courses were really working for me because it was about 7.5 weeks long. And by the time my brain was like, you know what, I'm really getting tired of this, the course was over. And so I was like, oh, I didn't even have to worry about it anymore because I was pushing it and then it was done. And it was beautiful and it was perfect. And circling back to the beginning of my tangent, I was like, okay, well, I need to do an elective. And at this point, I was newly married to my wonderful wife. So I was like, okay, well, I need to take something, but I kind of want it. I don't want to just take a course, take a course. So she was like, well, why don't you do advanced Python? Because it was on like my short little list of courses that I would be able to take. And so I just lost my train of thought. Choo choo. Shit, what was I saying? So yeah, like a bunch of people in the class were struggling, but I managed somehow to make it through. And my professor at the time, about partway through the course, towards the end, I get a message from said professor who like get in touch with me and we can go over the job stuff. And of course my immediate thought was my professor has been hacked. She's been hacked. That is it, because what do you mean a job offer? I'm still what? No, it didn't make any sense because imposter syndrome is real. And so once again, my wife steps in and she's like, no, you should go ahead. Like, just what? It's not going to hurt anything. And I'm over here like, my kidneys, something, I don't know. I went ahead and I emailed my professor. I was like, yeah, sure, let's go over it. Not expecting anything to come from it, mind you.
3 years later.
So it turns out the job offer was real at a real company. So yeah, I had my first interview with my professor, who apparently was becoming, or literally just became, the CTO of the development team of this company. And I was like, what are the, like, again, but yeah, so I had like a little brief initial interview with her, still not believing anything. And then she was like, okay, you're just gonna have to do another 2 interviews, one with the 2 senior developers for front end and back end of our team. And then, just a short little interview with the CEO because he likes to meet the new people. And I'm like, what is going on? What is happening? To this day, I don't know. This doesn't happen to everyone. I don't even know if it should happen to me. I'm still questioning this 3 years later. But anyway, had the interview, had the other interview, and then had the interview with the CEO. And everything actually went okay. He's a really nice dude. So I had about 3 months left to go. So this was August of 2022. And they were like, okay, because you're still in school, and mind you, this was simultaneously my new CTO and still my professor, soon to be former professor, but still professor. She was like, school is your priority. So for these last 3 months, you're just going to be a co-op. And I was like, okay, I can do that. So 3 months went by. I'm finishing up with school and I get my degree. So come October, then I get the official job offer for a full-time position as a junior software engineer. I was terrified.
Do it! Just do it!
So I started on the back end and it was okay. Writing in SQL, I could do that. I knew how to do that. And especially, I wasn't doing it alone, so I didn't feel like I could completely just destroy everything. That was a plus. There were so many times, honestly, where I'd have to speak to the other developer on the back end, not our senior engineer, and be like, hey, I don't really know, like, do you know what the issue is with my code? Because everything looks right, and yet it's not working how I expect it to. And I can assure you, 9.9 times out of 10, it was because I was missing a semicolon. That's it. The semicolon was literally the bane of my existence. Maybe there was like 3 commas in there, but it was always the semicolon. I hated that thing. I still do. I don't use it as much, but I still do. So I was on the back end just learning, growing, evolving, and it was great. I was part of the team. I was literally completely fresh out of college. I wasn't even expecting to get a job in my degree field for, I don't know, a long time, because that's what everyone told me what would happen, and that's what I believed, because none of this was par for the course. None of this was normal. Anyway, so I was on back end for a while, and it's always been a small team. There has not been a lot of it. There's never been more than 10 of us, I don't think, at a time. But about, I want to say less than a year of being on the back end, it was like, hey, Anna, you're gonna work on the front end now because I think it'll be good and it'll make you well-rounded, which is great because I want to be a full stack engineer. It was great, you know? And so I switch over to the front end and I'm given that little grace period where it's hilarious actually. When I was working on my degree, I hated JavaScript. I don't know. It was not clicking. And so the biggest joke the universe could have played on me was like, yeah, here, go ahead, have this job. This is just literally gonna fall into your lap. But about 6 to 8 months in, you're gonna have to do solely JavaScript, basically. All the things that I seriously struggled with, which, little brag, I graduated summa cum laude with my degree, which again was amazing. I basically failed high school. I am not ashamed to say I failed high school for so many different reasons. Part of it was undiagnosed ADHD. I was amazed, and that is my little brag. But you know what? My senior front end engineer is great. He's a great dude. I honestly couldn't have asked for a better mentor to learn the stuff that I hated in college. I feel like I've learned so much. It's been about 2 years working on the front end, way longer than the back end, but I want to say one of the things that I feel like has been hardest for me on the front end is learning when to ask questions. And this keeps coming back up in conversations with me and my senior developer. It is something I still have to work on, but I don't know, just knowing when to ask questions, because as a perfectionist, I don't want to. I want to be able to have all the answers, but the fact is you really can't, especially when you're still learning. And I know, believe me, I know you don't want to make mistakes because you don't want to come across as an imposter. You don't want to come across as just, I don't know, dumb or anything. It's like, yeah, I went to college. I know things. I do. It's hard to grapple with, especially it's definitely a transition. Coding aside, learning languages aside, that is honestly my number one struggle, is knowing when to ask for help. Between that and always needing to feel like I need to just be the best, which is unrealistic. It is unrealistic to always be the best. Nobody is ever going to be the best at anything. There is always someone who will know more than you, and that's a good thing. That is a good thing because that means that you still have room to grow in something, and that means that you're always learning. And in my opinion, you should always be learning because that is what life is about to me. I don't know about you, but to me. It's the circle of life, and it moves us all through despair and horror. So our CEO, for most of my time at the company, held these like monthly town hall meetings to go over like the state of the company and new stuff and whatever, because we're still growing, right? We're still growing. And I just remember a few months ago, he was kind of going through a phase of everyone from each department throughout the company would choose one person to talk about their job and be like, yes, I do X, Y, and Z, and we're in charge of blah, etc. And I guess as like a senior engineer, you kind of have to be well-spoken or else you probably wouldn't be a senior engineer. So note to future self, be well spoken. So basically, my senior engineer was chosen to speak on behalf of the dev team and, what he does and everything. And mind you, I have never, ever, up to this point, seen this man falter on speaking, ever. He has never appeared nervous. He just was always on top of it. And it was a good thing, but it also felt like a really hard thing to live up to, because that is eventually where I want to get to in my career. But how am I going to get to that if I don't feel like I can do that as a person? At least right now. And so we as the dev team are on a Zoom call while everyone else is in person. And so they're in this big room and we're just on a screen. It's like being in a movie almost. But so he gets on there and he has to turn on his camera and he starts talking about it. And oh my God, he was nervous. He was actually nervous. And I was just watching the whole thing like, who is this person? I do not know you. You are never nervous. It was amazing. And then we had a development team meeting after that one. And the first thing he said when our CTO was like, hey, you did X, Y, and Z. And then my senior engineer gets on there and he's like, yeah, I was super nervous the whole time. And it was so humanizing, I think, because it's kind of hard not to put someone that you see as better than you on a pedestal. It was just so humanizing to see that. And in that moment, and ever since that moment, I've been able to be like, you know what? He is actually a human being. Not that I didn't know it before, but it really clicked that even this person who in my eyes can do so much, if he gets nervous in front of people in a company meeting, I'm great. I'm fine. Every time I stumble over my words, every time I almost have a heart attack because it's my turn to speak in the meeting and I am afraid of messing up my words or taking too long to say something, or just, I used to write scripts. I literally used to write scripts before each meeting when I knew that I would have to speak or there was a very high chance. And that was my way of being, because, social anxiety, right? When you are put on the spot, your brain shuts off. It's gone. There's no more Anna. It's just gobbledygook. And so the only way that I found myself to be able to handle that was to write out scripts. And so I'd get my little note card and I'd put it right in front of me right before the meeting start, my heart rate at 120 and at least. And then just as soon as our CTO was like, hey, Anna, what have you done this week? Even though I know what I've done that week, I know I did work. Even though I knew I was going to get called on, it just went out the window and gone. And so having the script, I would just read off exactly, like verbatim. I wrote it down how I would say it. So a script. I would read that, and by golly, I actually started to have less anxiety the more I did that. Months went by and I was doing this. And then finally I just found that I didn't need to use the script anymore. I could just talk like a human being. I mean, did it help that at this point I had probably subconsciously conditioned my team for us to not have our cameras on anymore? Because I was the first. And then slowly but surely, everyone on the team during meetings had their cameras off. So I contributed something. And I don't know if having the cameras off helped, but I didn't need the script anymore. I'm at a point now where I kind of go through phases. I mean, we all do, but specifically for my job, I go through phases of feeling like a complete and utter failure. How did I earn my degree? How did I get this job? How am I an adult? I am 26 years old. How am I an adult? Why does anyone trust me with anything? Yeah, I can do this. I know how to do this. And honestly, it just depends on the task, like the work task. It changes from week to week and it has nothing to do with anything else. It literally is just my confidence in my ability to do my work for this one specific task. Sometimes it's great, sometimes it's not. And sometimes things that I feel like will take 15 minutes to code a solution for end up taking 2 days. So I'm getting the hang of it. But I am nowhere near where I want to be as a developer, and that is okay. It has been a roller coaster of a ride for so many different reasons other than just work. And you know what? I'm looking forward to see the rest of it. I have learned a lot. I'm still working on some back-end stuff my CTO wants me to keep up my skills. I'm not afraid of JavaScript anymore, so I would say that is a plus. If I get nothing else out of this, I am not afraid of JavaScript. It's been a journey, and I'm looking forward to the rest of it. This was and is my first video. Thank you for bearing with me if you're still here, and I'm gonna go eat some food now.